All right. This your boy Mitch TV coming to you straight off the hip. The Card Chronicles. Another episode of the Card Chronicles. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Card Chronicles. First things first, I want to thank all of my subscribers for like, commenting, and subscribing to my channel. I have 1,700 subscribers. I need 300 more to hit that 2,000 mark. Also, if I talk about relationships, I just want to give you a disclaimer. I am not a relationship guru. I am just coming from a real nigga perspective and common sense perspective also. I never claimed to be no type of relationship guru. Just want to give you my disclaimer. I'm just coming from a man's common sense point of view and all of that. All right, first things first. Let's go ahead and talk about in the NBA. So there been some news circling around in the media that Mark Cuban is going to buy back the Dallas Mavericks, which that was going to happen because when the Luka trade went down, they said there was a report that came out that Mark Cuban was furious of what was going on, that he didn't like the fact that the new owner and the general manager Nico Harrison was not running the Mavs organization properly. How they allowed that Luka trade to go down. Mark Cuban was upset about that. Then, when the new Mavericks owner fired Nico Harrison, Mark Cuban took over as the general manager. That's what a lot of people didn't know that was going on. Now, Mark Cuban is partnering up with a Dallas business firm to buy back the Mavericks. Now, I'm just going to say this. With Mark Cuban, since he's still a billionaire, I think that would not be a hard task. And even going through the process, the voting process of becoming an owner again through the NBA government system, how they have, where, anytime a owner is trying to buy a team, the NBA has to vote on it. So Mark Cuban's going to have a unanimous vote. So that's not going to be the hard part. Now, I have a wild theory. What I think what's going to happen. I think when, not if, but when Mark Cuban buys back the Dallas Mavericks, I think Mark Cuban is going to knock on the Lakers' door and try to trade back for Luka. This is just a wild theory. I think Cuban's going to try to get Luka back. And since Luka is trying to, since Luka is, scoring, he's doing good with the Lakers, even though the Lakers not a championship team. Don't be surprised when Mark Cuban buys back the team. He's going to try to get Luka back and pair him with Cooper Flag. So, and I think what Mark Cuban will do is I won't be surprised he said, hey, I'll give back. I let me get Luka back. I'll give you the draft picks. I'll give you whatever player you want. I even give you Kyrie. He gonna do something because Mark Cuban really loves Luka, and he mentioned it so many times. He will never trade Luka, and he also mentioned it that Luka was the heir apparent of Dirk. So the love for a player that Mark Cuban has for Luka, when that transaction go down, just be on the lookout. And this is just a theory, like I said. Mark Cuban's going to trade back for Luka. So, and it's crazy. And I know another thing, the Lakers, they just been playing like trash lately. Even though some people be saying, oh, they're winning games. But yeah, they're winning games against teams who they're supposed to be. Like teams who you're supposed to be, those are the games you're supposed to win. Lakers are losing against not horrible teams, but like top-notch teams. Teams that's top 5 in the West or top 5 in these Lakers are losing to those type of teams. And the Lakers, they're not that good defensively. And I'm just gonna say, Lakers, they're not that good. If you look at the stats where the Lakers are ranked, the Lakers are ranked between 20th to 28th in defense in different defensive categories. And it's sad because the Lakers don't have no type of stability on defense. They don't have no actual like real perimeter defensive oriented players. They don't have no real 3-and-D players. All of the players that are 6'7" or above are not 3-and-D wings. The only 3-and-D wing that the Lakers really have is Vando. And Vando can't shoot. He really can't shoot. But like, and I think Rob Pelinka, he's gonna be on the hot seat. Because if the Lakers go to the playoffs this year and get put out in the first round, I'm gonna say this. Mark Walters, the new Laker owner, he's going to fire Rob Pelinka. Because the Lakers are horrible defensively. They always say this: defense win championships. Offense gets you to the playoffs. And I remember several NBA players say that. Offense can get you to the playoffs, and defense will win you championships. So if you look at teams that was real good offensively and not so good defensively, they never made it to the finals. Like those mid 2000 Phoenix Suns teams that was great offensively. They was always a top 5 best offensive team in the league, but they never made it to the finals because they lacked some things defensively. Like, and some of the things was, they didn't have a solid big man where Amari Stoudemire was playing center, and Amari Stoudemire at that time did not like playing center because he had to go up against Shaq and Tim Duncan, and even though Tim Duncan is a quote unquote power forward, Tim Duncan accept playing center during the playoffs. If you watch a lot of the old Spurs playoff stuff after David Robinson, Tim Duncan played a lot of center because he knew he had the advantage. And people don't notice Tim Duncan started playing more center when Shaq retired. Because after Shaq retired, he was able to take advantage of that center role, even though he was labeled as a power forward. But back to the Suns, those Suns teams was amazing, but they was bad defensively. Those Sacramento King teams in the West, that was very good offensively, but was horrible. I give you some teams in the East. Remember them Atlanta Hawks teams with Joe Johnson and all of them. Great, great, great offensive team, but they wasn't that good defensively. They really wasn't that good. Yeah, even though they always ran into LeBron, they wasn't that good. So, like I said, offense gets you to the playoffs, defense wins you championships. So, yeah, it's so that's why I just have to go on that tangent about my Lakers. Like they're horrible. They're really horrible. And also, I know y'all saw the fights that happened yesterday with Detroit and Charlotte. And it was in that game was a very intense game. And Isaiah Stewart, the dummy he is, even though he's quote unquote the new tough guy, the new quote unquote Charles Oakley of the NBA, that fool was on the bench when the fight happened. Yes, he ran off the bench trying to fight uh Miles Bridges. Now his ass is facing a 25-game suspension. And I know, and I'm just gonna say this. Now, the NBA fan in me, I loved it. I loved it. Like, yes, I love it. They playing real basketball. They're not being soft. But on the business side, if you look at the NBA on the business side, that's not good for business for a player to be fighting. Because look about it. The malice of the palace cost the NBA a lot of money behind the scenes. If you just read and do the research, NBA lost a lot of money off the Malice in the Palace because remember, fans got injured during that situation. Even though in the Detroit and Charlotte game, no fans did get injured, but that's how the NBA look at stuff. They don't like the fights because it's bad for business. But the NBA fan in me, I loved it. I like it when teams beef and they get and it gets heated, and then somebody talking mad shit, and then they get their face muff and everybody ready to scrap. I love it. But overall on the NBA standpoint, it's bad for business. So and Isaiah Stewart getting suspended for 20. And here's the thing about Isaiah Stewart. When the playoffs come, because this gonna be something. Isaiah Stewart gonna have to learn how to control his temper in the playoffs. Because if he mess around and get into a brawl in the playoffs, that could cost us his team. Like Isaiah Stewart is like Draymond from a identity perspective for the Pistons. Now he's not a playmaker like Draymond. He's not the quote unquote defensive specialist. But when you need somebody that need a make a play like set a screen or send a message to another center or bully your center in the post, block shots, catch lobs. That's Isaiah Stewart. He's one of those type of guys. That guy that will ride with you, that brings that roughness to the team. That's Isaiah Stewart. But he has to be careful because when the Pistons get into the playoffs, those refs is gonna be really gunning for him. They're gonna be really gunning for Isaiah Stewart. And but overall, I love the game, and I know there was another fight. I forgot the other team was fighting too, but it was the Hawks and I forgot who was the other team. It was the Hawks and somebody else. Another little brawl happened too. But but around this time, when the second half of the season come around, it gets very intense. And also, another piece of news: LeBron James, he missed his 18th game. Now he's ineligible to win any type of awards for for the season awards. So now, and I know some people will be like, yeah, he's 41 years old, and some people might say that's BS. LeBron been help carrying the Lakers, but here's the thing: this when the and I have a feeling the league is going to change that rule, and here's the reason why. Wemby missed about 15 games right now. If Wemby missed 3 more games, he'll be ineligible. And what's going to happen? It's going to hurt the league from a standpoint where you're supposed to prop Wemby up as the next great thing, and he missed 18 games and he don't get those accolades. So now what they're gonna do next year, if that happens, they're gonna have to change the rules and bring it back to where it was before, where it didn't matter how many games you played. If you was producing, if you was a vital piece to the team, boom, you get them accolades. But we'll see. Also, Brandon Ingram got selected to the All-Star team because I think he's taking the place of Steph Curry. And also Kawhi got selected to the All-Star team. I think he's taking the place of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So, and I felt, and this year's All-Star game is going to be at the new Intuit Dome in Los Angeles. And I felt like Kawhi should have been an All-Star this year, even though James Harden carried that team. But if you're gonna, it by tradition, anytime you have an all-star game at a certain city, you always gotta have that one player that played for that city to be an all-star to represent. So, and I think the league did that, and I'm glad the league did that because it'd have been some drama if that would have happened. But no, it is what it is. All right, let me get off the sports. Oh yeah, yeah. Let me, before I get on something else. Also, Seattle Seahawks won the Super Bowl. Everybody know that. Uh, Here's my take on it. The first half, it was kind of boring and it was kind of a weird, boring game. Second half, it kind of picked up. Um, Sam Darnold made no mistakes. He had zero turnovers, and that was the reason why in Seattle's defense, that was the reason why they won. Because if Sam Darnold would have threw a pick, then that game would have been totally different. But since Sam Darnold made zero mistakes, and that defense really was the MVP, even though the MVP of the Super Bowl was Kenneth Walker, straight out of Funky Town. The defense was really the MVP to me. But Kenneth Walker, the running back, was the MVP because he rushed for like 150 yards in the game. But I'm just gonna say this: next year it's gonna be a little harder for Seattle because Sam Darnold, he gonna really have to improve because that defense bailed him out. And 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 um and Mike McDonald, great coach. He made sure Sam Darnold played mistake-free football, and that was the thing he wanted Sam Darnold to do. And I noticed this when Seattle was doing their defensive coverage. They did a lot of coverage where they switched a lot. They disguised a lot of coverage where the safeties was moving up to the line, like the safeties will sit and they'll move up, and they was disguising so many covers. It was confusing Drake May, and Drake May got sacked 6 times in that game. So it was kind of amazing how the defense of Seattle, aka known as the Dark Side, aka known as the Legion of Goons. That's what I call them, the Legion of Goons. They was wrecking the New England Patriots. But here's the thing: the Patriots, I gotta commend Mike Vrabel, top 5 head coach in the league. Mike Vrabel took a young Patriots team to the Super Bowl. People forget this was Mike Vrabel's first year with the Patriots, and he took them to the Super Bowl. This team this past summer, when they had free agency, they had to sign between 30 to 40 new players to the team. So pretty much that team was gutted out. They did a fast rebuild of that team. So imagine you had to do a fast rebuild of that team, and then you had to coach that team up. That show you how good of a coach Mike Vrabel is. And that's why I still say the Tennessee Titans, y'all some dumbasses for letting Mike Vrabel go, because Mike Vrabel is a top 5 head coach. I said this so many times. Mike Vrabel is a top 5 coach, and y'all was stupid for letting Mike Vrabel go because he did not want to get rid of his coordinator, and y'all was stupid. And I keep saying this, the Titans, and I'm just gonna rant about the Titans because I live in Nashville. The Tennessee Titans had a chance to be Super Bowl contenders. Like when they played against Patrick Mahomes in that AFC Championship game, the biggest reason why they lost was goddamn Tannehill. Tannehill is fucking trash. And I always said this. After that AFC Championship game they lost, all they had to do was get rid of Tannehill and sign another quarterback that was slightly better than Tannehill. Or they could have drafted a quarterback, trade up and draft a quarterback. Like the Titans had a Super Bowl contending team. They had a defense, they had an offensive line, they had wide receivers, but Tannehill fucked the game up. And this I knew when the Titans played the Chiefs that year. I think it was like 2018 or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chad. It was like 2018. So I remember Clear as day. I remember the week of that. I remember the week of that AFC Championship game. I remember there was an article that came out, something that came out that it was years ago that Mike Vrabel told Tannehill that they wanted to stick to the plan of running the ball 30 times to Derrick Henry because that's how they was winning games. Play hard defense and run the ball. Tannehill got mad and told him that he wanted the coach to put more faith in him. Tannehill kept telling him that. Vrabel said no. No, let's stick to the plan. Run the ball, play hard nose defense. You manage the game. Tannehill got mad, had a little Karen fit, and Vrabel was like, "All right, we'll do what you want." And then soon that game started. What happened? 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And I was thinking in my mind, "Oh, we about to lose." And then when they started running the ball, what happened? Touchdown. They start throwing the ball, and then and what happened? The Titans was up 27-10 at the halftime, and then guess what? They start throwing the ball again. Then what happened? Tannehill was 3 and out and making bad mistakes. And what happened? Motherfucking Patrick Mahomes came back, scored like 30 unanswered points, and beat the damn Titans because Tannehill was trash. And I felt like if they would have kept that team together, and then what's so crazy? The next year the Titans played the Ravens and lost to the Ravens because Tannehill threw 3 interceptions, and the first throw of the game was a pick six. If you remember that game, Nashville, yes, that first throw of the game was a pick six. Tannehill threw 3 picks. That's how horrible he was. See, but that show you how good of a coach Mike Vrabel was. He took trash ass Tannehill to the AFC Championship game. And I always said, if he had a better quarterback, Titans would have been won a Super Bowl. Like hell, if the Titans would have got Russell Wilson, he's better than Tannehill. Titans would have won the Super Bowl. Hell, even Nick Foles. I'll take Nick Foles over Tannehill. Titans would have won the Super Bowl next